On this week's digital marketing news, the latest from YouTube, Snapchat, Twitter, and Google, and also Alexa, can I please get some stats on smart speaker usage?
Welcome to the Digital Marketing News. I'm Tiffany Allen.
And with your first story, I am Joshua Knight. So my first story involves inscrutable Gen Z hangout app Snapchat, which is making another bid for relevance to marketers, and something that I think should make us maybe sit up and take notice. So consider me sitting up and taking notice. They have added some new abilities to target based on offline behavior. So this is a little more in line with what Twitter is offering, what some of the other big players are offering. They've partnered with Nielsen, not Leslie Nielsen, sadly, but the Nielsen rating company of TV fame, and they're going to provide them with 30,000 different segments. So this is kind of important right now. A lot of the platforms are starting to pull in their their offerings for that kind of stuff. Facebook, with privacy concerns, is giving us less access to market segmentation. Snapchat's giving us a little more. So if you have an audience full of inscrutable Gen Z folks, this may be the time to check out Snapchat.
Good to know. It's a lot of segments. Pretty interesting.
Right, and I think they also have a new lens that turns you into a caterpillar with 30,000 segments, which will be super cool.
Holy
and
cow.
terrifying.
You're going to need a really big phone.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Well, in other news.
I
have some interesting stuff from Google. So John Mueller, the senior webmaster trends analyst at Google, has confirmed or recently stated that word count is not really indicative of quality in the eyes of Google. What? I know. When you work with SEOs, oftentimes it is, we need this many words to rank for X term. Well, according to Google, that might not be the case, with the caveat, of course, that the content actually has to answer the right questions, right? So if your content is the best answer, whether it's 300 words, whether it's 1,000 words, it really just depends on the search intent. So if what your content is saying is important and relevant in answering the questions that are being asked, you're more likely to rank. What does this mean for marketers? Maybe focus more on the quality of the content.
Mm-hmm.
Are you answering the questions? Are you answering relevant, related questions with your content? What else is ranking for those terms? Take a look at that before you decide, okay, we need to make this longer for search purposes.
Yeah, and I would say just make it as long as it needs to be a comprehensive resource. There's no need to pad things out to make it look more attractive to robots, because the robots are looking at what the humans are doing. And if they're bailing halfway down your page, that's not a good look.
Right. All right, well, I'll step out of frame for the next story.
All right, I'll see you over here in now. In our next story, Twitter has released a playbook for agencies. So people who, are a digital marketing agency doing integrated marketing that wants to provide social media services on behalf of clients. Not that I know anybody like that. They have put out a playbook that's going to help people use their platform more effectively. And surprisingly enough, the folks at Twitter think that the best way to do that is to give money to Twitter. Now, I know they're a slightly biased source, but I think we can trust them when they say Twitter is basically pay to play. You need to, if you want to build that reach over time, like those brands that have enormous reach and lots of engagement, they are paying. So it's possible, they say, to build an organic audience, but you should be setting that expectation with your clients that if you really want that huge kind of reach and to bring in those followers, that it is kind of a pay-to-play platform. They also said that you should focus on real-time trending content for Twitter. This is in contrast to places like Facebook that can have things that take a while to build. Twitter is really about being in the moment. That's what the platform's for. That's what people come for. That's what you should provide. They also talk about Twitter being a place to put your brand personality out there, and maybe even a place to be a little edgy if it fits your brand. They singled out Wendy's as one of the people, who my favorite recently was when asked if they were worried about IHOP getting into the burger game. They said, not really worried about burgers from somebody who thought that pancakes were too hard. So Wendy's, super funny, gets a lot of engagement. If it fits your brand, that kind of edginess and humor might be in there. Another interesting thing that's in this playbook is even though the character limit has been increased, it still pays to be concise on the platform. There's no reason to extend what you're saying just to hit that limit. They said, challenge yourself to say it in 140 characters, or even 75, or even 35 in a link. So as much as you can get your message constricted, kind of the opposite of what I'm doing right now. Finally, in that playbook, what I thought was exciting is recently I wrote a blog about hashtags in which I said that hashtags are kind of a conversation. And guess what's in the playbook? hashtags are to be thought of as a conversation. So use the hashtag if you are trying to start a conversation or entering in a conversation. They said think of it as, oh, hey, we were just talking about hashtag whatever. So if you can't use your hashtag in a sentence like that and have it make sense, then make sure your hashtag, don't hash that and hash something else or tag something else. Hashtag something else. However the verb for hashtag is, do it that way. So up next with a story about hashtags on YouTube, dovetailing nicely into our hashing and tagging, it's Tiffany.
Thanks, Josh. In our next story, also Google related, also hashtag related, we are talking about YouTube. So YouTube is now displaying hashtags on top of video titles within the web version of YouTube and also the Android app, not quite available yet for iOS. So how this works is that if a video is about whatever XYZ item, you hashtag it in the description of the video, and that'll pull up on top of the title so folks can navigate through videos on related content. So for example, if you're writing about content marketing, you would say in your description, this video is about hashtag content marketing, and that will pull up above the title in the web app for Android users as well. So what does this mean for marketers? This means, of course, as always, appropriate tagging of your content is really important in YouTube. It's making content a little bit more search friendly. And from a user standpoint, if you're trying to figure out, I don't know, how to build a garage, and there's a hashtag about build garage or something similar, you got a lot to go through there on that stream. So this is relatively new. We'll see how it goes in terms of adoption, if there's any other rollouts for iOS, for example, or other apps. But this is a great opportunity for video marketers out there to get their content discovered. Okay, back to us.
Thanks, Tiffany. Our final story involves some interesting new research on the usage of smart speakers, the adoption and usage in our homes. These are like your Google Homes, your HomePods, your Amazon Echoes and Dots, those kind of things. So this study comes from the good folks at Edison Research, who are, as you know, bitter arch rivals of
Tesla Research.
That's right, Tesla Research, and NPR, the home of people who talk in soothing voices, I feel. So there are two things right off the bat that I thought were interesting about this. First, 18% of people now have one of these, which is huge. That's close to 20%, would be 1 in 5. The market penetration on that is going off the chain. But secondly, that all of that adoption seems to be coming from people in the older age brackets. Old people like me, people who are over 35, are more likely to have these than the new kids. So I thought that was intriguing.
That is intriguing. It's nice to be included.
Occasionally, yes.
So there's two groups here. There's the first adopters who have had their smart speakers for more than a year, and then the early mainstream who've had theirs for less than a year. So they compare these two groups. First adopters tend to use their smart speakers primarily to listen to music and to control other smart home devices. The early mainstream use it for more of a variety of reasons. So number one of these is ordering food, which near and dear to my heart for sure. Getting traffic info, looking up recipes while they're cooking, doing other kind of cooking related tasks, and making a phone call, which is interesting.
Making a what call?
On the phone.
Like with a voice?
Yeah, I think, but it comes through the speaker, so it's different.
Okay, so it's like a text, only you speak with the person instead of them typing.
Yeah, you can hear the text.
What a bizarre way to use it. Okay.
So interesting.
I usually use mine to say how many tablespoons are in a cup. And I usually do it 3 or 4 times a day because that's something that I never store. So it is interesting to see that people say they bought the thing so that they would spend less time looking at screens. And it turns out most of them are reporting that they are spending less time looking at screens with this new tech.
Yeah, and across all groups, consumers are also using their smart speakers to research purchases or actually make purchases, as many as 3 times in a month sometimes more. So that's something as a marketer to keep in mind as well when you're especially in the e-commerce vertical and you're thinking, okay, if somebody wants to buy my product, what would they say? Not what would they type into Google, what would they say to Alexa or to, whatever
Bixby.
Google's voice is.
Google doesn't have a name, it's just the Google Assistant.
Oh, that's right, it's OK Google. Huh. Learn something new every day.
Yeah, it's an okay computer. But we're not going to go down the Radiohead rabbit hole again.
Not today.
It's fine. Suffice to say that marketers, this is something we need to take note of. This is a vertical that has just kind of opened up. People are really getting involved in it, and we need to pay attention to this new way that people are using to find stuff. So like you said, keep in mind how people are going to ask for things by voice, and look into how you can optimize for these new platforms, these new ways of getting information.
Yep. We'll be back next week with more digital marketing news. If you need more in the meantime, follow TopRank at TopRank on Twitter or me at Tiffany_Allen.
And you can find me on Twitter at Nitewrites. That's NITEWRITES. And if you're enjoying the show or you hate it but you can't stop watching it, please hit the subscribe button and ding the little notification bell so you'll know whenever we put out cool content.
Okay, we'll see you next week.
Thanks for tuning in.
Bye.